I feel like I owe you guys a little bit of a bump date. I don't think I've shown you my bump since, I want to say like week 7. I don't think I've shown it to you. I don't know. But anyways, we're going to show it. I'll just kneel so you can see it. So this is what she looks like. This is what my bump looks like today. We are 21 weeks today and I'm feeling so good. I'm having the best time. I am feeling all the flutters and all the kicks, and my husband can feel them from the outside. We can see them from the outside now. And every part so far of this journey, I'm just loving. It's been so much fun. Cooper's coming to join. Hi, sweet boy. Hi, sweetheart. Yeah, you taking a nap? He loves the rug in here. We don't have rugs anywhere in our house except right here. And he's currently stretching. No, that's my drink. That's my drink. Nope. You wanna sit here beside Mom? No. So I'm just drinking an ice water today. It is gorgeous outside. I think it's over 10 degrees. And it's super sunny. I was sitting on the front porch for a little bit earlier and it is so beautiful outside. And this is the most wonderful taste of spring, but I know it's not gonna last that long. I'm not looking forward to that, but right now I'm loving what's happening outside. Well, anyways, welcome back to my channel. If this is the first time you are seeing my face, my name is Sydney. I'm a perinatal athletic therapist and postnatal fitness specialist. On this page, we talk all things perinatal, whether that's preconception, pregnancy, or postpartum. We talk health and wellness, we talk exercise, we talk all kinds of good things, but currently we are going through my personal perinatal journey because I'm 21 weeks pregnant, and I'm kind of taking you guys through week by week what I'm experiencing, things I didn't expect, things I plan to do, all that kind of stuff. And so if any of that seems like it might be interesting to you, please subscribe and stick around for a while. All right, today is Q&A part 2 for second trimester. I got a lot of questions that are kind of all over the place for this Q&A. There's also a couple that I sort of skipped over because I'm gonna answer them in my birth prep and sort of like birth wishes, birth plans sort of videos. So there's a couple that I'm pushing a little bit, but I did respond to those people who wrote those questions, and I kind of explained what I will be doing so that I'm not just leaving them high and dry. So if you missed my first trimester Q&A, I can tag it below for you. Or if you want to see any of the other videos that I've done up until this point, I will put the playlist below so you can go and check them out. All right, some of these questions are pretty juicy, so let's just get into it. Question number 1, are you afraid to give birth? Now, I don't think anyone is totally unafraid to give birth. I think there is a fear that comes along with it, whether that's an actual fear or that's just feelings of anxiety about birth itself. I definitely feel a little bit anxious about it, but I wouldn't say I'm afraid. I have a lot of knowledge when it comes to how the female body works, how the process of labor and delivery, the process of birth, what happens after. I have a lot of knowledge when it comes to that sort of thing, and I treat people who have gone through that process every single day. I see birth as a physiological event, not a medical event. Now, that's not to be confused with when it can turn into a medical event, because that can happen very, very quickly. Birth itself is very physiological, and what I mean by that is the female body was designed to give birth down to every single teeny tiny little detail of hormone levels, of contraction intensity, of, all of these things. When I think of birth as being a physiological event, I think of pain as a productive and a positive experience to the birth experience. Pain during birth is very productive, which means it has a reason that it's there, and it's a good reason. It means that your uterus is contracting to push your baby out. Now, there are times when it can not be a positive thing, and it can be detrimental to the health of either mom or baby, but in a just normal, healthy, uncomplicated birth, it is productive and it's positive, and each rush of pain brings you closer to your baby. And I think that when we look at birth in that way, and we look at birth in the way of this is supposed to be happening, this is a positive thing, this is a productive thing, I think it takes a lot of the fear away from it. Now, the other thing I should mention too, which I'll talk about in a little bit when I answer another one of these questions, we also have a really, really great birth team, and that birth team is there to support our physiological birth. I would like to make our birth, unless absolutely necessary, the least medical as possible, and I would like for it to be as physiological as possible. And so I think having a good team also definitely contributes to my relaxing thoughts about birth. I also feel really well prepared, which actually brings me to my next question. The next question is, when do you start birth prep? Now, okay, if we're talking about the average person versus myself, that's a little bit different. Because I've worked with the perinatal population for such a long time at this point, I have been prepping women for birth for 5 years now, and a lot of the things that I have given them to do, I actually have taken upon myself to do even prior to pregnancy. And so I've kind of been prepping for birth for a few years already. I've been doing lots of pelvic floor relaxation. I've been teaching my body to relax through discomfort, all of those kinds of things. So for me, I started long ago. Now, with my patients, it typically depends on when I see a patient first, but minimum, I would say you need to be starting by about 20 weeks. And that's because birth is such a mental event. It's not just a physical event, it's a mental event that you have to be able to withstand and work through mentally. And that takes practice. It doesn't just happen super fast. And so I do recommend that birth prep starts at about 20 weeks. Now, it's never too late to begin. It's never too late to start working on some of the birth prep strategies and things like that. But I do say that about 20 weeks is a pretty good time. Now, aside from the mental part, the physical part can really be started anytime, as long as you're pretty diligent about learning it. And so that cutoff is usually like 32 weeks, because it does take about 6 weeks for your body to get used to different muscle activations, to build or change muscle, all those kinds of things. So I definitely recommend starting the physical birth prep around 30 to 32 weeks. Question numero 3. Are you planning to breastfeed? So I'll be honest, I'm not really tied to any mode of feeding my child. I would, at this moment, we do plan to breastfeed. We plan to combo pump and nurse. And that's mainly because the thought of being the absolute only person in this world that can feed my child gives me so much anxiety, and I need to know that I'm not the only person that can do that. And so we would like to combo pump and nurse so that my husband can also feed the baby, someone else can feed the baby if needed. However, if that's not working out, and if that's taking too much of a toll on my mental health, and if I'm just not producing enough or whatever, I will not hesitate to go to formula. And I know that's such a controversial thing, and I'm not even going to get into the health benefits of either, whatever. I'm not even going to get into that. My mental health is more important, because if I am not well, I cannot be there for my child. And so if I am feeling way too overwhelmed and I'm having a really hard time and I am struggling with production and whatever, I will not hesitate to go to formula. I'm not tied to either. We're gonna try. We're gonna try and see what happens. I would prefer to pump and feed our child breast milk, but if that is not the case, then we will figure out something else. Question number 4, who is a part of your birth team? So we have a handful of people. So myself and my husband, obviously. My husband is there for personal and emotional support. He is not there for anything else. We have hired a doula, and she will be, I can tag her account below if you're looking for a doula in the Windsor, Essex area. She will be there to be my main support person, and my husband will be there to be emotional support only. And I've talked about that before. Like, my husband is just not, I've known this the whole time I've known him, and he is not a good support person for the birth process. I can tell you that right now. And so that's why we've hired a doula, because that way a lot of the pressure is taken off of him, and she can kind of take that load of things and he can just be there. I think that will make the process much better for both of us. And so yeah, so Kaylee, our doula, is part of our birth team. Then we also have a midwife. Her name is Karen, and the midwives always have another midwife along with them. So that just depends on who's available. So I will be with a midwife, and I guess not really part of my birth team, but part of my team of practitioners who I have been and will continue to work with. I have a lactation consultant who she will be showing me how to use my pumps. She'll be kind of walking me through how often to pump versus nurse to keep my supply up, and she does a lot of training with combo feeding, and so that's why I contacted her. And I'm hoping kind of once we're through the first 6 to 8 weeks that I can work with a nutritionist or dietitian to kind of get my hormones back to regulation, get myself back to proper nutrition to be able to sustain workouts that I want to do, and just activity level that I want to have, and all that kind of stuff. I am really, really big, if you can't tell, on hiring people who are really good at what they do. I just think it's really important to contact people who are experts in their field rather than trying to do so much by myself. Question number 5. What are you doing for nursery decor? So I'm sitting in my nursery right now. You can't tell. There's a couple things that we want in here. So originally we were going to put pictures of baby animals all over the nursery, and after looking through Marketplace and after trying to figure out like which ones we wanted, did we want to go with woodland animals, did we want to do safari animals, like I just don't care that much if I'm being honest. And so right now we're looking at getting a big world map that has, I can put a picture on the screen of what I'm talking about. A big world map that has pictures of animals in all the places that they come from. And so it also has, a lot of the ones I've seen anyways, also have the continents written on there. And it's like, it's more of an educational map, but it's a pretty piece of decor, and I just think that it would be so cute in here. So that will go up on this green wall here. And then we're gonna get a couple just like smaller shelves for some books and some lights or whatever we decide to put on there. So a couple just like wooden floating shelves. And then we want a mirror also to go above the dresser. So a few things that we're still looking for in terms of decor, but other than that, oh, and I propagated a bunch of little plants, and so I have like some pothos, I have an ivy, I have a Monstera, and I'm going to be potting those into little baby pots, and we're going to put those in different places around the room so that they can kind of grow with our baby, which makes me just so excited. There's lots of light in here, and so I think that'll be perfect to have them grow in here. And also they're just like good for the air. They're good for cleaning the air and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much all in regards to nursery decor. Question number 6, 7? I don't remember what it was. The last one. This is the last question. This is kind of a hefty one too. Yeah, this will be our last one. Question is, how will you deal with boundaries when it comes to others around your newborn? So we don't have all of our boundaries perfectly set out yet. There's a few things that we still haven't really decided on, but there's a couple things we're going to do for sure. So a few weeks prior to delivery, hopefully, or at least prior to delivery at some point, we will be sending our support systems, his family, my family, our friends, we will be sending out a message letting them know what our boundaries are. And we're doing that because we don't want it to all of a sudden be a surprise to people when it comes the time that our baby's here, that they expect different things. For example, I likely do not want anyone in the hospital, and we are going to let everyone know that ahead of time. If, let's say, we give birth, we're in the hospital for a bit, I am comfortable with having people, we can let them know to come. But I don't want it to be the expectation that they will be there, if that makes sense. So all of our boundaries will be set more intense than they likely will actually be in real life. But I just want that to be the expectation rather than the opposite, if that makes sense. So for example, if we say no one is coming over to see the baby for the first 2 weeks, and then let's say end of the first week, we're like, you know what, we feel pretty good, let's have people over, then the people can start coming over earlier rather than like just not having that expectation set out. I am really, really big on boundaries, and I preach this to every single one of my patients. I think it's extremely important postpartum to protect your mental health and protect your space and your postpartum bubble. And it's also really important to just be able to learn and figure out what it is you're doing with your baby, how your baby is, getting to know their personality, getting to know, you know, how they eat and all those kinds of things. I really honestly feel like there's nothing worse than trying to figure out breastfeeding or having a really fussy baby and then having people coming over every other hour asking you questions about how breastfeeding is going and how feeding is going and all this stuff, when really it could be just so crappy. And so I would much rather take that time and just have us in our little bubble. Honestly, our dog won't even be here. Like our dog is going to a kennel for the first at least week so that we can just figure it out. Like, so we can just be alone and figure out what's going on and learn together rather than having a bunch of people here. That sounds just so stressful to me. Now, when it comes to people not respecting our boundaries, because I did talk with this person and she was just saying, you know, things are still really hard, and she's, I think she said 6 months. She might be 6 weeks. Either way, she said, you know, setting boundaries is still really hard later on. We have one kind of golden rule, and that is, it is my husband's responsibility to set boundaries with his people. So that's his friends, his family, and it's my responsibility to set boundaries with my family and my people. And if we have an issue, like let's say my mom is here. My mom would never do this, but if my mom was here and she was making comments and she was, you know, taking the baby away from me and not giving the baby back and all that kind of stuff, it's my responsibility to discuss that with her. That's not my husband's responsibility, and same thing with his family. I think that will help keep the peace a little bit better, especially because like we know how to deal with our people better than we know how to deal with someone else's people, and I don't want to come off the wrong way. I don't want to offend people, especially if there's a bit of a cultural difference, which there definitely is with his family and my family, or just the way that I grew up. Things are very different, and we see newborns differently. We you know, boundaries are definitely different. And so it's important to have an understanding of where those boundaries going to come from and who's going to set them. And other than that, it's not my problem. Honestly, as long as the boundaries are being respected, I don't care in the end how that happens. They just have to be, they have to be respected for our family. And I'm not afraid to set those boundaries a little bit stronger if we have to. I want to make sure our baby is safe, and I want to make sure that our space is safe. And like, we won't be setting boundaries just for no reason to be rude or whatever. Like, boundaries will be set to protect the safety of our baby, to protect the space that we have around us, and to protect both my husband and my mental health. And so if the boundaries are not doing one of those three things, there's really no point in having them. There is a rhyme or reason to the boundaries that we will have. It's not just, we're not just setting them just for fun. Well, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this Q&A. Like I said, I will be doing a birth prep, a birth plan, like all those kinds of videos. So there'll be a lot more information in regards to that stuff over the next couple of weeks, couple of months. So look out for those. But if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to leave them below or send me a DM or something like that. I would love to answer them. I'm really an open book, so please feel free to ask me anything that you're wondering. But other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you guys soon.